guys, it's Izzy here, and today we're going to be looking at my TBR, all of the books that I would like to read in the month of October. Let's get into it. On this day, a year ago, I had gotten to my Goodreads goal of reading 80 books, and I have not gotten to my goal this year of reading 107 books, so I am still going through my ever-changing genre TBR, so reading a different genre every book. So the first one is a thriller. Now this one has kind of an interesting take on it. This is one that I wasn't sure if I should unhaul or not, so I got saved from the unhauling stuff by getting pulled out of the hats. At this point, I was still pulling names out of the TBR jar. So I will leave a link to that unhaul video if you guys would like to check it out, of maybe why I wanted to unhaul this book. So it's not going to get unhauled, at least not yet, not until I read it. That is Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. I do love this cover though, and y'all know I love orange. I'm wearing orange, so I do really like the colors here, but sometimes books can have great covers and not a great inside. That's why you should never judge a book by its cover. But I have no idea. I haven't read anything by Angie Kim, so I don't really know what to expect. I've had this book since April 2019, and I'm finally into it, so you can kind of see I had it sitting around for a while and never read it, so that's why one of the reasons it was heading towards unhaul stock. But let's see what it's about. A literary courtroom thriller about an immigrant family and a young single mother accused of killing her autistic son. Miracle Creek is a powerhouse debut about how far we'll go to protect our families and our deepest secrets. I think courtroom is what put me off. Y'all know I'm not a true crime person, so it doesn't really intrigue me. So I don't know how I read thrillers when true crime doesn't do it for me. I guess it's just knowing one is fact and one is fiction. I'm not sure, but we will be picking up Miracle Creek probably this week. Now we have my fantasy pick for the month. It is a sequel of a book that I read back in 2020, literally when COVID was first starting. And the first book in the series was kind of a pandemic novel. It was pandemic, but there is fantastical elements, like people became what they really are. Like some people grew wings and all of this stuff. Like there were like fairies and that kind of thing. So obviously I'm not saying it's like a 100% pandemic novel, because most likely that would not happen in our real world. But the second book is Of Blood and Bone by Nora Roberts, and the series is called The One, but this is book 2. And look at these end pages. Again, I love orange. I love orange, and it's perfect for fall. But let's see if there's any way I can tell y'all. Okay, so this is the New York Times bestselling author of the #1 New York Times bestselling author of the epic Year One returns with a new tale of terror and magic in a post-apocalyptic landscape where unimaginable forces, both light and dark, have been unleashed. So in our first book, we are seeing that apocalypse take place. And in the second book, we're in this land. That kind of reminds me of the book of the Unnamed Midwife, which is one of my favorite books, if not my favorite science fiction book. The first book is when a pandemic is happening, and then the second book is a generation or two later. I don't know this one. I don't know how far after the first book it's taking place, but I do love post-apocalyptic. I love the apocalypse. I love reading books about that. So that's why I did really like the first book in this series. And I'm curious to see where this is going to go, because I don't remember a ton from the first book, so I'm definitely going to maybe have to go back and watch my own vlogs, or just go somewhere looking for details on the first book. This book I've had since like last Valentine's Day, and that is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hawes. Like, they have the sticker right on it. It looks like this is an independently published book too, which is always cool. So this is a romance between guys. I don't know if they're both in a band. No, our band's not involved. Bands are not involved. I thought this was like, I still think it might be a Larry Stylinson knockoff, because I mean UK, and look at the guy. Like, that guy gives me Louis vibes, but also Harry vibes. So this is Wanted, one fake boyfriend, practically perfect in every way. So Luke O'Donnell is tangentially and reluctantly famous. His rock star parents, so he's a Nepo baby, split when he was young, and the father he's never met spent the next 20 years cruising in and out of rehab. I hope they don't judge the father too harshly, but okay. Now that his dad's making a comeback, Luke's back in the public eye, and one compromising photo is enough to ruin everything. To clean up his image, Luke has to find a nice, normal relationship, and Oliver Blackwood is as nice and normal as they come. He's a barrister. I don't know what that is. I think, is it something with the law in the UK? I'm not sure. And an ethical vegetarian. He has never inspired a moment of scandal in his life. In other words, perfect boyfriend material. Unfortunately, apart from being gay, single, and really, really in need of a date for a big event, Luke and Oliver have nothing in common, so they strike a deal to be publicly friendly fake boyfriends until the dust has settled. Then they go their separate ways and pretend it never happened. Now, I'm not a huge fake dating person because I just think it's so out there. There are some people, though, who I think might be in fake relationships, but we're not getting into that. But it's British, and I don't think I've read a gay romance book, so that might be something new for me. Who knows? Yeah, it is going to be something new for me. 100%. This is quite the big book. It's 425 pages. The next one is my historical fiction pick of the month. And how much do I think about the Roman Empire? I think about it pretty much every day. And this is a novel of ancient Rome called Imperium by Robert Harris. I've heard of other books by this author, but I just haven't got around to any of them, but I am definitely intrigued. So in his most accomplished work to date, that's what the LA Times says, master of historical fiction, Robert Harris lures readers back in time to the compelling life of Roman Senator Marcus Cicero. I am probably butchering that. I know who that is, by the way, so don't think I'm not familiar. So the recreation of a vanished biography written by his household slave and right-hand man Tiro. Imperium follows Cicero's extraordinary struggle to attain supreme power in Rome. So it's probably going to be very political, but I do think it's interesting how this is a recreation of a biography that vanished. So I wonder how Robert Harris is going to go about that. My 5-star prediction, and this is one I'm so excited for because practically everybody I have similar tastes with on Goodreads has given this book a 5-star. And just the description, I'm going to read it to you because y'all are going to be like, that is for you, but just this description is perfect. And I sent it to one of my friends last night and he was like, I'm jealous of you that you're going to be reading this book this month. And I'm like, dude, you can pick it up too. But I will be following along with the audiobook because it is quite the chunky novel. And that is The Love Songs of W.E.B. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking? Du Bois, I think is how I heard it on YouTube. Because the reason I'm blanking is this is one of my family last names as well. And in the French, it is pronounced differently. My name has since been anglicized. From when the French Huguenots first came to South Carolina, but I've seen this spelling in Florida, and I know in Quebec it's pronounced Du Bois, so that's why I was like blanking on how to say it. But let me tell y'all what this is about because it just screams that it's for me. So the 2020 National Book Award long-listed poet makes her fiction debut. This is a debut, I didn't realize that. Of magistral epic, an intimate yet sweeping novel with all the luminance and force of homegoing, seeing unburied sing, and the water dancer that chronicles the journey of one American family from the centuries of the colonial slave trade through the Civil War to our own tumultuous era. I love family sagas, and this one is taking place in the southern United States in Georgia, I'm pretty sure. Yes, Georgia. So definitely, as someone who lives in the Deep South, I do love that setting. And obviously this is going through a lot of hard time periods for this family. So I'm going to read y'all the rest of the description. I'm reading the whole description for this one just because I am so excited about it. So the great scholar W.E.B. Du Bois once wrote about the problem of race in America and what he called double consciousness, a sensitivity that every African American possesses in order to survive. Since childhood, Ailey Pearl Garfield has understood I keep wanting to say Du Bois, it's not that. Du Bois. Words all too well. Bearing the name of two formidable Black Americans, the revered choreographer Alvin Ailey and her great-grandmother Pearl, the descendant of enslaved Georgians and tenant farmers, Ailey carries Du Bois' problem on her shoulders. Eiley is reared in the north and in the city, but spends summers in the small Georgia town of Chickasetta, where her mother's family has lived since their ancestors arrived from Africa in bondage. Since she was a child, Ailey has fought a battle for belonging that is made all the more difficult by a hovering trauma and the whispers of women, her mother Belle, her sister Lydia, and a maternal line reaching back 2 centuries, who urge Ailey to succeed in their stead. To come to terms with her own identity, Ailey embarks on a journey through her family's past, uncovering the shocking tales of generations of ancestors, indigenous, black, and white, in the Deep South. Along the way, Ailey must learn to embrace her full heritage, a legacy of oppression and resistance, bondage and independence, cruelty and resilience. And that is a story, the Song of America itself. Oh my gosh, that description is so beautifully written. Like, who wrote that? But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way through, leave any kind of music emoji in the comments below. And as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!